But when we don't witness our shadow, we project all the parts of ourselves we've denied onto others. So on the other hand, when we witness our shadow with curiosity and love and care, we can begin to integrate these denied parts of ourselves and find healing, wholeness, and peace.
This is the Executive Coach Podcast with me, Maya Gudka, where I help you tune in to work and lives that feel spacious, successful, and aligned with who you truly are. Having worked with hundreds of leaders, I know that when we're properly supported and with great prioritization and planning, we really can have it all with ease. So let's stop the overwork and dive in. So I've got Michelle back with me today. Michelle is the CEO and founder of Wondersource. And Michelle and I have been collaborating over the last few years since we first met via Instagram. And we've met in person a couple of times, which is great. And a lot of our work has been virtual collaboration. So previous episode where we discussed a recent work series, for me, it was really illuminating. And one of the other interesting things that came out of our discussions here was some of the shadow work that Michelle has been doing. And now, huge caveats here. This is quite heavy work, and Michelle isn't claiming to be any sort of a expert here. She's just talking about her personal experience. But Michelle's the kind of person that I value hearing from, because I know that she will have taken a considered approach to this, a critical lens, and will have embraced it in the kind of way that I think resonates for me, and therefore also for you guys as listeners. So I just wanted to explore what it was a little bit more and make it perhaps a bit more real, a couple of examples and things. So first of all, hi, Michelle, and thanks for joining us again.
Hi, Maya. Thank you so much for having me here. So nice to be here.
And yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about shadow work or your experience of it, or what brought you to it? So 3 questions there.
Absolutely. I would love to. So it's such an important topic for me right now that I'm working on a shadow workbook for Wondersource that will be coming out soon. So it is a big topic, but my understanding of it is that shadow work is about witnessing and accepting all parts of ourselves to heal and become more whole. So many of us have a hard time facing and being with ourselves. We like to distract ourselves from our shadow, so like our unconscious self, and the pain we are too afraid to feel. But when we don't witness our shadow, we project all the parts of ourselves we've denied onto others. So on the other hand, when we witness our shadow with curiosity and love and care, we can begin to integrate these denied parts of ourselves and find healing, wholeness, and peace. So there's a book that I love called The Power of Receiving. And in it, the author explains that we all have these big circles and little circles. And the little circle contains all the parts about ourselves or others that we reject. And the goal is to bring them into the big circle, to make peace with them. So I love that example because maybe the first part of what I explained about shadow work sounds fluffy or confusing, but this kind of idea of these 2 circles to me was very impactful, and it made it very clear. I had right away when I read this concept, it was like, yeah, I know what's in my little circle. I know what's more in my bigger circle. So here are a few questions that you can ask yourself to reveal your shadow. So what behavior do you reject yourself for the most? Maybe it can be things like laziness or control or insecurity. What do I get defensive about? Thinking about the people I most admire. What traits do they have? What quality am I most critical of in my parents, family, partner? In relationships, I always find myself playing the role of. And here's one that was really impactful for me recently. So if you're working towards a goal, let's say more money, sales, success, love, and it hasn't happened yet, a super insightful question is, what do I love about not achieving this goal? And it sounds very basic, but you'd be surprised how quickly the answer will come. So in my case recently, I was trying to reach this goal in my business. And I asked myself this question, what do I love about not achieving this goal? And right away, the answer came, because I can relax. And it was a bit shocking to me because, I'm doing all this work to achieve my goals, but there was a part of me that is believing that if I achieve those goals, I will never be able to relax. And if I don't challenge that, I'll never be able to move forward with my business because my subconscious mind is playing the story that with success, I won't be able to relax. And really, no one would sign up for that. So I challenged it. I worked through it. I asked myself, is it really true that I won't be able to relax? And the answer is, of course not. We can look in newspapers, we can look to social media, and there's plenty of business people who are very successful and can find times to relax. So it's so important to kind of sit with ourselves and look at these stories we're telling ourselves, because the stories that we tell ourselves create our lives. And we need to make sure that they're supporting the vision that we have for ourselves. And I've shared a lot here, but just one more exercise that I'll share is, so you can find some of the qualities that you love about yourself and some that you don't. And then it's like a simple breathing exercise. So let's say a quality I like about myself is having integrity. So I would slow my breathing down and say, breathing in, I breathe in integrity, something I love about myself. Breathing out, I breathe out integrity, something I love about myself. And then breathing in, I breathe in control, something I don't like about myself. Breathing out, I breathe out control, something I don't like about myself. And it's very simple, but surprisingly very healing. It's like we can accept these parts of ourselves, and in that process, we become more whole.
I was expecting that you were going to say, you breathe in the thing you like and you breathe out the thing you don't, because that's what we expect, right? That we wouldn't be accepting it, but actually here we're folding it in. So I find that really powerful. And I do think of all of the questions, the one that resonates for me, or the one that would help me get started the quickest, would be, what do you love about not achieving? I think that one would unlock a lot for me, because I think unless I was given a lot of examples about, which behavior do you reject yourself for the most? I mean, it's almost like it could become a practice with a lot of goal setting, actually, to be able to ask yourself that question. Because we always want to be thinking about obstacles or things that could get in the way, and then to sort of think about how we can navigate those. But this is quite a profound one. So definitely one I'm going to mull over.
Yeah, no, that one is the one that I use the most now. So since I used it the first time, I ask myself all the time, what do I love about, this not having this thing, not achieving this thing? And as I said, it sounds so basic, but it is so revealing.
Yeah. So I talked at one point on this podcast actually about loneliness. And I don't know, like, do you think it's possible to just be in a situation that you don't love? Could it just be that you've moved to an area and you haven't yet developed the kind of friendships that you want, and you want that, but it just hasn't happened? So do you think you're always blocking yourself?
No, I think, to me, like, you were mentioning before, maybe you don't know, and we need to, or we can ask people outside of ourselves that know as well. I would say it's like looking at areas where you're triggered, maybe by family members or things that's sort of, oh, I don't like that, or where you feel a lot of resistance. So that is usually a sign of there's something there.
Yes.
If it's a family member that's doing something and it kind of makes you feel triggered, and it's like, oh, they always do this, or there could very well be some sort of shadow work there that would be healing for you.
Yeah.
Just to say, so in your example, like if you were, to move and feeling, let's say, lonely, some people could move and feel lonely and be totally okay with that. It doesn't bring up anything for them. They have no resistance to that. It's just a time frame for me right now. Like, I'll make friends soon. Whereas someone else can have that experience and say, oh, I'm not good at making friends. I have a lot of resistance. Life just doesn't go my way. Or it's sort of what you feel about the situation is really what it's about. It's not like an absolute for anyone.
Oh, yes. I think that is a helpful way of looking at it. Because what I wouldn't be able to say in that situation, or to myself 2 years ago, whenever I was experiencing this thing, is I wouldn't have been able to say, like, what do I love about this situation? It was just not ready yet. Like, it hadn't organically evolved to where it needed to be, and it needed to go on its own journey.
Yeah, but then it was probably not the right, like you were fine with where you're at, and you wouldn't have had any resistance to it. You just recognize that that's part of like your journey right now.
Right. Okay. The other thing that I was going to add here is that I do think when you've got your own business, there's just endless amounts that you can do on this front, right? Like, you can literally figure out resistance in so many dimensions and be on this path, because I certainly come up against this, every month. There'll be some areas which need to be looked at, and this would be a very useful lens for that.
Absolutely. I think you don't realize when you're starting a business, but there's going to be so many layers of healing that's kind of going to come with it, because you're just going to be unraveling these levels of fear and doubt and, whatever your thing is.
Yeah. Well, thank you for breaking that down a little bit. It's certainly, I am going to go and check this book out and maybe have a look into this. I've been hearing a lot about shadow work, but sometimes you need somebody that you know and trust to be doing it to make you examine that. So thank you for bringing that here. Just a short episode to talk about that. And definitely let me know when your workbook comes out, because I'm sure that will be a useful way of looking at this.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about it. It is a big topic, and it can be a bit complicated. It can feel a bit overwhelming or complicated, but we don't have to make it like that. We can start small. And
well, I think you've definitely not made it feel like that. I'm walking away with some really clear things that I can do. So thank you for breaking it down in that way.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye, Michelle. And thanks for listening. I look forward to connecting with you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Life Work with Maya. If you've got to this point, I'm guessing you found it valuable. So do share the link with somebody else who can benefit. In an age of materialism and us trying to stay on top of clutter, what could be nicer than to send a non-clutter digital link to somebody and say, I listened to this and I thought you might love it. What a great way to show your care and consideration for them. If you haven't left a review, now is the time, and make sure that you are subscribed on Spotify or you're following along on Apple Podcasts. And if you really want to help the show grow, then do share the link on IG stories, Instagram stories, or reshare or discuss your thoughts with my LinkedIn posts. You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. Do feel free to send me messages there. I love having dialogue with my listeners, and the links to those handles are in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to connecting with you next time. Bye-bye.